Welcome to the Real Estate Finder podcast. I'm Matthew Mashler, real estate broker with Signature Real Estate Companies here in the great state of Florida. And I want to talk to you today about one of my biggest pet peeves in Boca Raton real estate. Some of what I say about real estate is very, very local to Boca Raton. Some of it could be national or international, some local to the state of Florida. But this is very specific to the city of Boca Raton. And it's just a pet peeve of mine when people talk about East Boca and West Boca. And yes, it's very convenient sometimes to describe something as East Boca and West Boca because it does give you a good sense of direction. If you ask where something is or where someone lives, it's an easy way of describing direction and location. But some people really and truly trench down as if these are two different places. Some people really think there is such a thing as East Boca Raton, and some people think there's such a thing as West Boca Raton, like Greenwich Village and the West Village, or North Dakota and South Dakota being very separate states. There's no such place as East Boca. There's no such place as West Boca. Now, one of these words, West, may have originated from the country club that was called Boca West Country Club. And when Boca West Country Club was built, it was built very, very far west, very, very far from the ocean. They took something very, very negative, how far it was from the ocean. They put it right in the name, and they led with it. The developers of Boca West Country Club was Arvida, the same company that owned the Boca Raton Resort. And they gave those original members of Boca West Country Club beach club memberships as a way of, connecting them. Oh, you could have the best of both worlds. You could be west and on a golf course, but still have access to the ocean out east. And there are still members of the Boca Raton, it's now called the Boca Raton Hotel. There's still people that have a membership from that original membership that they got when they were original owners of Boca West Country Club. So that's one of the reasons why I believe that this term came up. And then a lot of people call it Boca West, and they call, like, if they have a second location of a shoe store or an ice cream store, they call it Boca West. Well, no, that's the country club name. At least say West Boca. And it could be a good distinguisher between a store with two different locations. The ice cream store that just opened up, they have an East Boca and a West Boca location. So it's a good descriptor, but it's really, there's really no such place. I asked someone recently where the dividing line is. And, originally, right, it was the beach. It was the island, right? Nobody was living on the mainland. Everybody was living on the island, on the coastal communities. And the original east-west line was probably A1A, or you're on the beach, or it was probably Route 1, right? You had the city of Boca Raton on the beach, and on Route 1 is where you had, the less expensive real estate because it wasn't beachfront or it didn't have the intercoastal access, and that's where, the municipality was built, and the city hall, and the libraries, and the police stations, etc. On Route 1, because that was the highway, and that was west of the beach and west of the population center. And then eventually I-95 gets built. And when I-95 gets built, they're not going to build it through town. They're going to build it way, way west around the town. So I-95 was the dividing line between East and West Boca because nothing was built west of 95. And that line kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed as the area got developed. And then you have, the town center mall. Originally, people may not remember, but the original Boca Raton Mall was Meisner Park, right? That was taken down, the indoor enclosed mall, to build Meisner Park, and then they opened up out west in the less expensive area, a little bit far west. They opened up the town center mall, and that was very, very far west when it was built. Now people might call that Central Boca. So where's the dividing line? Is it Route 1? Is it I-95? Right? Is it Military Trail? The town center mall is still past Military Trail. And then when we have this discussion of East Boca versus West Boca, then we get into the city of Boca. There is land outside of the city limits that has a Boca Raton address. because it has a Boca Raton zip code, because mail needs to be delivered. Well, the mail is delivered by the post office, which is a federal entity. So when property was built and houses were built out west on Loggers Run or Boca Isle South, they had a Boca Raton zip code because the mail was processed through the Boca Raton post office, even though those addresses were past the city limits. So, there's an argument that, East Boca is in the city limits and West Boca is outside the city limits, but it may or may not be true because, like I said before, when I talked about Boca West Country Club, Boca West is not in the city limits. Woodfield Country Club is. St. Andrews Country Club isn't. And if you look at a map, Woodfield is just as far west as those other two clubs. Broken Sound Country Club is in the city of Boca Raton. And like I said, so is Woodfield. Boca West is not in the city, but they are part of the greater Boca Raton Parks and Library District. So if you live in Boca West, even though you're not in the city limits, can't vote for mayor and town council, don't pay city of Boca Raton property taxes, you do have access to the city libraries and the city parks, the dog park on Military Trail, some of the parking by the beach, which is city parking. You have access if you're in Boca West that you don't have that access if you're in St. Andrews or the Oaks or Boca Bridges. And the funny thing about Boca Bridges is I had a real estate customer who wouldn't buy in Seven Bridges because it was a Delray address. They waited to buy in Boca Bridges, exact same house, $800,000 more for the Boca address. Meanwhile, neither Seven Bridges is in Delray or Boca Bridges being in Boca. They're both in unincorporated Palm Beach County. But just the name on the address, Boca Raton, Florida versus Delray Beach, Florida, somehow made this buyer feel justified that they get a Boca Raton address. It's not even in the city. So, I hear, there's people in East Boca that talk down about West Boca, and people in West Boca talk down about East Boca. And the more I get involved in social media, the more I see people like, oh, I can't understand how someone could live in West Boca because of the bugs and the temperature. The weather's not different. It's the same place where you're standing. If I'm standing in Broken Sound Country Club, the weather's not different if I'm looking left or if I'm looking right. So while it's a handy adjective, it's not a real place. There's no such thing as West Boca, no such thing as East Boca. There's so many communities, Pheasant Walk, Boca Chica, where the people sit there and they think they're in East Boca and they say, I could never live in West Boca. And it's like, are you looking at a map? So it's a convenient description, but it's not the end-all, be-all of where do you live or where in Boca Raton do you live. Comment if you disagree. When people say to me, oh, what's better, East Boca, West Boca? Like, well, what's better for what? Like, what are you looking for? If you're looking for, a country club, you're not getting that all the way east where the population is denser. And if you're looking for a beachfront home, you're not getting that west where there's, country clubs. And by the way, west isn't all country clubs. There's plenty of single family homes, and HOA communities in west. So East Boca, West Boca, Central Boca, there's one Boca Raton. All right, knock it off already. Vin? Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us. All right. Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate Finder podcast. I'm Matthew Mashler, real estate broker. If you'd like to buy or sell a home, I'd be happy to put you in touch with one of our agents. If you'd like to become a real estate agent, or if you are a real estate agent, would like to join our team, I would love to have you. We're always expanding. If you think East Boca is better than West Boca, stay there. If you think West Boca is better than East Boca, stay there. But if you think in one Boca, whether you're in East, West, in the city, outside of the city limits, we will help you find the best place to live, and we will help you with your real estate career. If you're a real estate agent and would like to sell in Boca, we won't limit where in Boca you can sell. You can sell anywhere you want. Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate Finder podcast. I'm Matthew Mashler, realestatefinder.com.
The future looks bright and the storms pass by. The sky's dark blue and it's almost that time. Light shows, cameras flash when I pass. Living in the moment, forget about the past. They save the best for last. Matthew Mania, we bout to make a splash. Life is a marathon full of sharp turns. Gotta keep pace while the hands on the clock turns. High stakes, 5-star real estate. I run a show, you can tell the boss in the place. Electricity, energy, it vibrates. I'm always on time even if I'm late. Yeah, I make dreams come true. Living my life, hope the same for you. Success in my sights, got a real clear view. If you don't know the time, I'll give you a clue.
You know what time, you know what time, you know what time it is. Yeah. You know what time, you know what time, you know what time it is. You know what time, you know what time, you know what time it is. You know what time, you know what time, you know what time it is.
You know what time it is. You know whose time it is. You know what time it is. Matthew Mania, the time is his. You know what time it is. You know whose time it is. You know what time it is. Matthew Mania, the time is his. Yeah, got him shook, scared, can't look.